A very good morning, everyone. I, Prachi Ladar, will be presenting my project report on the topic Surrogacy, Boon or Bane for Women Empowerment. So this project report is basically divided into 5 parts. This is done for better understanding of this project report and the concept of surrogacy. So first we'll understand what surrogacy means. This picture accurately elaborates what surrogacy means. When we consider a couple who wants to have a child but are not able to conceive, or for various other reasons like woman doesn't want to go through pregnancy or is not able to go through pregnancy or etc., they hire a surrogate mother to carry their child for 9 months. Later, the surrogate mother gives up the baby to the couple after it's born, and in return will get compensation as agreed. So this is surrogacy in simplest terms. But in Surrogacy Regulation Bill 2021, Section 2, Subsection 1, Clause ZD states, surrogacy means a practice whereby one woman bears and gives birth to a child for any intending couple with the intention of handing over such child to the intending couple after the birth. So when we look into this definition, there is no mention about the compensation. We'll know why there is no mention about the compensation in further presentation. So the main question that arises is why people opt for surrogacy. There could be various reasons like infertility. Same-sex couples are unable to conceive a child naturally, that is to have a biological child. Single individuals need the help of surrogate to have a child of their own that is biologically identical to them. Age plays a very vital role in women's ability to conceive. So a woman in her mid-40s may not be able to conceive. So she would want to hire a surrogate to have her own biological child. And also there is another reason like adoption is not an alternative. There could be many instances where people are not having an option of adopting. They only want their biological child. Other reasons could be like physical problems, past trauma, or unable to carry full time. Next question that arises is, who could the intended parents be? Like the picture depicts. So the intended parents could be same-sex couples, heterosexual couples, single women, single men, divorced men, or divorced women.
So Rajni, there are still you are in first slide.
No, sir, I'm sharing my screens.
No. Still you are in first slide. For us, that first slide is visible. Yeah. Now okay.
Okay. I'll show like this only. Yes. Now it's visible, sir.
Yeah. So that fifth slide is visible.
Yes, sir. So there are two types of surrogacies. One is commercial surrogacy, another is altruistic surrogacy. To understand these terms, we'll refer to Surrogacy Regulation Bill 2021. In Chapter 1, Section 2, Subsection 1, Clause B states, altruistic surrogacy means the surrogacy in which no charges, expenses, fees, remuneration, or monetary incentives of whatever nature except the medical expenses and such other prescribed expenses incurred on surrogate mother and the insurance coverage for the surrogate mother are given to the surrogate mother or her dependents or her representatives. So this is what altruistic surrogacy means. Whereas commercial surrogacy means commercialization of surrogacy service or procedures or its component service or component procedures, including selling or buying of human embryo or trading in the sale or purchase of human embryo or gametes or selling or buying or trading the service of surrogate motherhood by way of giving payment, reward, benefits, fees, remuneration, or monetary incentives in cash or kind to the surrogate mother or her dependents or her representatives, except the medical expenses and such other prescribed expenses incurred to the surrogate mother. In short, the picture depicts that commercial surrogacy is done for money and altruistic surrogacy is done out of love and courtesy. Next, there are two methods involved in surrogacy. One is traditional surrogacy, another is gestational surrogacy. In traditional surrogacy, the surrogate mother is the biological mother of the child. Here, the surrogate mother conceives using natural procedures like insemination.
Go to next slide. Go to next slide.
I'm present in the next slide.
Yes. So you have to take care of that slides also.
Yes, sir. The surrogate mother is the biological mother of the child. Here, the surrogate mother conceives using natural procedures like insemination. Here, the egg of the mother is used and the sperm of the father or sperm donor is used. Thus, the surrogate mother becomes the biological mother of the surrogate child. But in gestational surrogacy, the surrogate mother acts like the carrier of the intended mother. Her rights over the baby cease to exist, and she isn't the biological mother as the sperms as well as embryo is implanted in the womb of the surrogate. So the pictures might be much clearer to understand this. To understand this concept, when we look into this picture, we understand that the mother here is actually the surrogate, and father's wife are intended parents. So this is about traditional surrogacy. Next picture elaborates that the surrogate child here could either have egg donor or have the egg of the intended mother, that is father's wife, and could have anonymous sperm donor or sperm of the intended father. So here the gestational mother, that is the surrogate mother, is nowhere biologically related to the child. Now we'll look into the next part of this presentation, that is history of surrogacy. Beginning with the history, commercial surrogacy legalized in 2002. It was done to promote medical tourism in India. Later, India became the hub of surrogacy, the main reason being low cost and another main reason being absence of strict legislations. However, the unregulated business of surrogacy led to many concerns, and to address these concerns, Law Commission of India highlighted that there is urgent need to enact a law to regulate all these unregulated businesses. In 2015, government notified about the prohibition to regulate commercial surrogacy for foreign nationals, that is complete ban on foreign nationals to come and hire a surrogate in India. In 2016, surrogacy regulation bill was first introduced in Lok Sabha but lapsed after parliament was dissolved. The new surrogacy regulation bill 2019 was enacted in December 2021. The bill enacted in 2021 had many regulations, and it was known as Surrogacy Regulation Act 2021. The Surrogacy Regulation Act had many important regulations like Chapter 3, Section 4 to 6, that stated about intended parents. Married couple for at least 5 years, they had to provide a certificate of essentialities and also certificate of eligibility. They have to also undertake that they will not abandon the child born out of surrogacy. The next, it spoke about surrogate mothers. Close relative of the intending parents or intending couple must be married women having a child of her own between the age of 25 to 35 years. No previous surrogacy. This means when we looked into the meaning of surrogacy in terms of Surrogacy Regulation Bill 2021, it had no mention about any expenditure or compensation to surrogates, because commercial surrogacy in 2021 was completely banned, not only for foreign nationals, but also for Indian couples. Only altruistic surrogacy was legal. That is, only their close relative could be their surrogate. Also, the chapter 6, section 33 to 35, this chapter deals with the functioning of appropriate authority to put a firm regulatory structure in place. The bill authorizes the significant authority to issue, suspend, or terminate the registration of surrogacy clinics, advocate the explicit standards, examine and take action in case of any deflection from the bill, and finally, to take into consideration change in technology and social conditions. Chapter 7, section 36 to 43 stated that it will penalize any person up to 10 years imprisonment and fine up to 10 lakh rupees for offenses like advertising or undertaking commercial surrogacy in any manner, disowning or exploiting the surrogate child or surrogate mother, selling or importing human embryo or gametes for surrogacy purpose, and conducting sex selection in any form of surrogacy. Punishment for not following altruistic surrogacy shall be punishable with imprisonment for term which may extend to 5 years and with a fine which may extend to 5 lakh rupees. The previous section clearly mentions that there is no commercial surrogacy in India anymore. So the mention, there could be many after effects of ban on surrogacy, some of which are reproductive tourism came to an end and led to decrease in medical tourism in India, suffering of surrogate mother, because there were many surrogate mothers who were dependent on the earnings that they got through surrogacy and lived their life through that. And because of that, those mothers started suffering. Same-sex couple and intended single parents were not considered. Obviously, same-sex couple and intended parents were not given preference in this. Also, there is another after effect that not all close relatives will help you to, have a surrogate child, because it is not an easy process. Nobody would want to go through all that. Surrogacy clinics also suffered huge losses. So there were some problems of surrogacy, and those involved like mental and medical risks. Being a surrogate is both physical and psychologically demanding role. She has to consider, in the sense, the surrogate mother has to consider both her mental and emotional aspect, because pregnancy in itself is a very complicated process, and it is more complicated when you're carrying somebody else's baby. So it involves like more complications, like about what the society will think, whose baby it is, what her family will think, and what her own children will think about her. So all those problems started to arise. There was exploitation of surrogate mothers. This is one of the main reasons to ban commercial surrogacy in India. Many surrogates are forced to stay in hostels away from their homes while carrying a baby on request of the intended parents, or they also stay away to prevent people from finding out that they are surrogates. Also, in these hostels, many restrictions are placed on the freedom of the surrogates. They have many dietary requirements, and hostels do not provide everything. Also, hostel limits visit from children and family of their own. So they are far from their family, and they cannot even meet them for 9 months period. That is devastating. Like, why would you want to, stop the mother to meet their own child or her own family? But family members of the surrogate and also the surrogate spend most of their time in hostel bed rest and are not even permitted to have sexual contact or other medical or else other medical risks also are involved. So now surrogacy has given rise to certain cases of surrogate mothers being exploited and children's being abandoned, which has unfortunately led to this kind of bill that we have today. There are cases of surrogate mothers forcefully being locked up in hostels, not being allowed to move out, not being paid the amount that they were promised to be paid, because of which anybody who tries to induce, because of all this reason, anybody who tries to induce somebody to become a commercial surrogate, tries to recruit a commercial surrogate, or goes looking for a doctor who would perform commercial surrogacy, they are basically being they are committing a criminal practice after the 2021 bill enacted. So next was commercializing of surrogacy. There are people who argue that the ban on commercial surrogacy is completely valid and on the grounds of ethical support, because they say that there is commodification of surrogates' body. They are mere producers. They are being exploited, and the children are they're paid. The parents pay for having children. Also, the children are treated as the product, and the mother is treated. Surrogate mother is treated as the producer. This is commodification of surrogate mother as well as child. That is very wrong on the ethical grounds. There is also another aspect of emotion. Now, surrogate mother, any mother carrying a child for 9 months develops, emotional relationship with that child in her womb. So what if something like that happens and the surrogate mother is not able to, give away the child because she has carried that child for 9 months? It's a very, emotional, and it takes all the aspects, emotional, mental, physical, all. So it involves everything. The surrogate mothers are exploited in all the ways. But there is also women empowerment if we look into surrogacy. Okay, so surrogates have the right to choose. That is under Article 21, personal liberty gives them reproductive right. Hence, they can choose to be a surrogate and earn their living. Also, surrogacy could be considered as a ray of hope for many couples, as well as, women, especially the women. If a woman is infertile, she is being treated differently in many of the families. But these, with the help of this technology, those women can have she can actually have her child, her own biological child. It is really a ray of hope, not only for the heterosexual couple, but also for single intended parents, and also same-sex couple who cannot conceive. Surrogacy is important means of earning for surrogate mothers. So but there is this thing that India is cheap when compared to other countries in surrogacy. But when we look into India itself, the surrogate mothers would not earn the money for, like 2 years also. If they spend doing labor or any other household works, they could not earn so much money that they earn in 9 months itself. So they are being highly remunerated with this process. Also, surrogacy is one of the means of having baby when adoption is not an option. So adoption, it carries many risks. People think that adopting strangers' babies, or they can involve some risk and not the continuation of bloodline or something. Such myths are always there in our society, and because of that, they do not consider adoption as an option. And if adoption is not an option, then only surrogacy is the option to have their own child. When we rationally think about the Act of 2021, we understand that the Surrogacy Regulation Act 2021 basically allows married heterosexual couples who have been married for at least 5 years to avail surrogacy. So it doesn't allow single women, it doesn't allow divorced person, it does not allow homosexual transgender persons to access surrogacy. It points to a very conservative idea of, who is allowed to form a family. It says only a man, a woman can have a child together. Even though currently in our country, we can see that all these people like heterosexual, transgender, single parent, that is single women, and single men are allowed for adoption. So having child with adoption is okay. Why can't you allow them to use medical technology to have a biological child of their own? So the Supreme Court recognizes children also born out of live-in relationship. So why would you not allow surrogacy in these kind of cases? These are some of the questions that arises that, doesn't make it, it makes it discriminatory practice to only allow, heterosexual couples to have surrogate child. So there is also another provision wherein it says the couple who have been married for 5 years only could have a child of their own through surrogacy. In case we consider where the woman does not have any uterus, what if she's not able to conceive or carry a baby? It is clear from the very beginning that she cannot have a child. So why do we need to make her wait for 5 years? These are some of the aspects that are not being taken into consideration in the 2021 Act. Next, looking into some case laws. In Suchita Srivastava versus Chandigarh administration, the woman here, that is Suchita Srivastava, was an orphan lady living in government welfare organizations. She was of unsound mind and had a mind of, like 9-year-old child. But she was subjected to rape, which eventually led to pregnancy. She was already 9 weeks pregnant when the authorities found out and approached the High Court regarding the matter. The Haryana and Punjab High Court passed the judgment that Suchita Srivastava should terminate her pregnancy on various different grounds. Because she was of unsound mind, how could she take care of the child? All these grounds were considered. But when the same was taken to the Supreme Court, she was already 19 weeks pregnant, and the Supreme Court ruled that she did not have to terminate her pregnancy because it was observed that a woman's right to make reproductive choices has been interpreted as a dimension of personal liberty, as understood under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. Hence, she was allowed to keep her baby in spite of being unsound mind. It was considered that before the birth of the baby only, you cannot just, already assume that she won't be able to take care of the baby. And also, if after 19 weeks of pregnancy, if the pregnancy is terminated, it might mentally affect her more. She might, her health might deteriorate more. So this was what Supreme Court held. There's another case in this case of Devika Biswas versus the Union of India. So there were 53 women who went to sterilization in the influence of family controlling and other advertisements to have the other benefits. The doctor, without any proper procedure, medical equipments, performed the surgery of 53 women in a school. Can you imagine, in a school on a classroom bench, which led to many different diseases and illness of the women. Hence, they were not even informed before that there could be some side effects. They were not taken precautions for the surgery, and literally 53 women were on 53 women the surgeries were performed. So later, women's right activist Devika Biswas filed a case in the Supreme Court, and subsequently the Supreme Court in its judgment highlighted the right to reproduction is an important component of the right to life under Article 21. Reproductive rights of a woman include the dignity to carry a baby, give birth, raise children. Rights to privacy, dignity, and integrity are also included. Hence, these two judgments indicate that a woman to have a reproductive choice is a part of her liberty under Article 21. A blanket ban, if applied to commercial surrogacy, can actually deprive the right to parenthood, as not all close relatives can help a couple with surrogacy. It's very obvious that not like all the relatives will agree to, carry a baby for 9 months without any remuneration. It's very rare to see such cases. So next is not a case, actually. It is an incident which happened, which showed the cruelty of, abandonment of surrogate children. So this is an Australian couple incident. So Australian couple, they have their names have not been revealed for privacy purposes. So they came to India for surrogacy. They hired a surrogate, and later the surrogate gave birth. And out of nowhere, twins were born out of those surrogacy process. But the Australian couple already had a baby boy. And hence they did not want the baby boy in the twin. So they only accepted the baby girl and left the baby boy abandoned and helpless in India itself and went back. This incident shows that there is lack of regulation and how surrogate children could be easily exploited through foreign national, or this could happen even in our own country. So these are some of the factors that had to be looked into instead of just completely banning it. So next, banning, there are some statement of issues which are to be considered because of the ban of commercial surrogacy. Banning international surrogacy may slow reproductive tourism, give rise to an underground market for reproductive labor, and increase exploitation of surrogates. So obviously, when there is something that is, being practiced worldwide and is banned only in India, there could be chances of black market where people would come and without legalities hire a surrogate and may exploit the surrogate mother as well as the surrogate child. So black market will emerge if international service is bad, and exploitation of vulnerable population will rise. So I have put a picture of a movie poster. So this movie starring Kriti Sanon is all about surrogacy. So when she wanted to become a heroine, because of less monetary, terms, she had to drop it. But then she got a ray of hope to become actor again, because of the US couple who had come to India and wanted to hire a surrogate. But then the US couple were informed that their baby is not stable, may be born with defect. After some 4-5 months, they wanted to terminate the pregnancy. But Kriti Sanon was already so much attached to that baby that she did not abort the baby. She gave birth to the baby, and she raised the baby, leaving her dreams aside. So here, both surrogate mother as well as the child were exploited. Later, after some years, the US couple came back and saw that their child is absolutely fine. And taking the benefit of the contract that they both had signed, they wanted back their baby. This also, obviously, this had a happy ending because it is a movie. But when we consider in real circumstances, that may not be the scenario. The mother, surrogate mother, would have, forced to surrender the baby to the intended couple. So these are some of the laws that need to be enacted and considered. Next, corrective measures that could be considered. A national surrogacy board must regulate surrogacy in India. International surrogacy should be banned until a international, forum is formed and is in place to regulate surrogacy worldwide. Surrogacy should be available to single parents and couples regardless of their sexual preferences. This should be considered in surrogacy. First is remove the ban on commercial surrogacy only for Indian nationals, and preferences also should change. Commercial surrogacy, yes, it should be permitted, but heavily regulated. So heavily regulated that no surrogate mother is being exploited, or no surrogate child is being abandoned or exploited. So with this, I would like to conclude by saying surrogacy is actually a complicated tangle of social, ethical, legal, and technological issues. The matter of surrogacy is not having not just having legal implications to be pondered into, but the society at large needs to look into it as a social issue and deal with it in such a way that ethical values are not lost. And at the same time, we also take the advantage of the growing technology. It is very important to move forward with the technology, and if it is happening worldwide, then it can happen in India only when it is regulated properly. So for that, governments must take respective stakeholders considerations, which is essential in making such laws. It must account personal experience of surrogates to develop best practices in surrogacy contracts. The more experience data you gather, the more you'll know what are the problems, and it will be much easier to deal with those problems. With the least ethical violations also, this should also be considered. State must understand that being a surrogate mother is actually legitimate profession for some women, and they indulge in it willingly. So we learned that some surrogates must be due to coercion, but there are some surrogates who want to actually be a surrogate, and they're doing it willingly. So it should be, allowed for them. After all, Article 21 also states that surrogacy agents and surrogacy clinics should be regulated closely to prevent any exploitation of surrogate mother and intended parents. However, these hopes just remain open, as these all have not yet been enacted or not even been talked about in our authorities, and thus there is still a chance open for it to become more conducive. So it could happen or it could not happen also. It's just a perspective. So to the needs of the society and individual consisting of it, it could be very helpful. Hence, Parliament should utilize this opportunity in fulfilling its obligations and fill the legal lacuna and shortcomings and make a comprehensive law devoid of loopholes and illegalities, which can pass the test of judicial scrutiny. And then only we can achieve a legal commercial surrogacy without exploitation of surrogate mothers as well as surrogate child. Thank you, everyone.